Hello, my gorgeous friends of Webflow. I'm Francesco, and if you don't know who am I, well, in this channel we do Webflow things and we make them simple and accessible to everybody from time to time by using a whiteboard. In today's video, we are going to merge GSAP with Webflow and we are going to create a button on hover interaction, an attributes only solution, so you won't need to code, that will look exactly like this. This interaction will be available inside my Webflow-friendly components library, and you will find a link to the library and to the instructions page with all the steps required to build this interaction in the description down below. But now let's take a look at the whiteboard. The setup here is fairly simple. We just have an element. It could be a section, a container, a simple div block that will act as our target. That's why it has an attribute of FC cursor with a value of target. And basically, this will be the element where the custom cursor that we are going to add will be shown. Then inside this target element, we are going to add, in this case, 3 buttons, but you can add as many buttons as you want. And these buttons will have an FC cursor attribute with a value of button, and this attribute will be just used to define the buttons the hover interaction will be applied to. And after that, we are going to add 2 more divs. The first one will be, the smallest one, will be the actual custom cursor. That's why it has an FC cursor attribute with a value of cursor. And then we are going to add what we can call the follower, because it will basically follow the movement of the cursor inside the target element, and this will have the FC cursor attribute with a value of follower, and this will be the element that will be animated when hovering over a button. And then we can further customize this interaction with a few options. We can use them or we can stick with default values. We have the FC cursor follower move duration option or attribute. The default value is 0.7 seconds, and this represents the time it takes for the follower to catch up with the cursor position, to create kind of a delay effect. And also we have the FC cursor follower move easing option, which is the easing function that is applied to the follower when catching up with the cursor position. And the default value is power 2 out, and this value and all the other possible values are available inside GSAP documentation, and of course you will find the link to this documentation in the instructions page for this interaction. And then we have the FC cursor hover duration attribute with a default value of 0.3 seconds, and this basically represents the duration of the animation that is applied to the follower when hovering over a button. And of course we also have the FC cursor hover easing option with a default value of power 2 out, and this is just, once again, the easing function that is applied to the follower, but this time when hovering over a button. Then we have the FC cursor opacity duration option. The default value is 0.2 seconds, and this is just the duration of the fade in or fade out animation that is applied to the cursor, to the custom cursor, when, for example, hover a button or hover out of a button or moving in or inside the target element. And we also have the FC cursor opacity easing option with a default value of power 2 out. All these options, if we want to use them, need to be applied to the target element. And yeah, I think that's it. Now we can move inside Webflow and we can build this interaction together. So it's time to build this effect in Webflow. The first thing we are going to do is adding a section here.
let's give it a class of section, and for the sake of this tutorial, let's just set the height to 100 VH. Then let's also make it a flexbox. Let's align and justify everything to the center, and also let's set the overflow property to hidden. We will see later on why this is useful, and also the position to relative. After that, we can add a container, give it a class of main container, give it a bit of padding, let's say at 8 rem on both top and bottom, and let's also say 6 rem here, and let's also set the maximum width to 90 rem. Then after that, inside our main container, let's throw a div, and we can call it button hover, let's say underscore content wrapper. And in this case, this will be a grid with 3 columns. Let's get rid of the second row, and then we can get rid of the gap between the rows and set the column gap to something like, let's say, 8 rem. And then inside our button hover content wrapper, we can start throwing our first button, and we can just call it button hover underscore button. And let's set the padding to, let's say, 1 or just maybe 1 top and bottom, then 2.5 on both left and right. Then let's set the size to 1.25 rems. The letter spacing, we can add a bit of letter spacing, let's see 0.1 rem. And then let's also capitalize the text. Let's set the background to transparent, and also the opacity. We want an initial opacity of 50%, and also a transition applied to the opacity, let's say 300 milliseconds. And let's also choose ease out qubit, which should be this one, yes. Then on hover, we can say, we can just, raise the opacity to 100%, and then maybe, we can leave anything else as it is. Then this one will be our, let's say, about button. Then we can duplicate this a couple of times, and this will be, let's say, projects, and the last one will be, let's say, contact. And maybe we can also center the text inside the button. Okay, so after that, directly inside our section, we can add another div, and this will be what we can call follower, which basically is something, an element that will follow the cursor while moving the cursor inside the section. So the section will be kind of the reference element for the follower. Outside of the section, the follower and the custom cursor that we are going to add won't be visible. So to this cursor, let's first add a width and a height of, let's say, 4 rem. Then let's also set the position to absolute, and that's why we set the position of the section to relative, because we want this section to be kind of, as we've just said, the reference element for this follower. And then we can simply put it at the top left corner of our section. Then we can also give a radius of 100%, then add a border, let's say 2 pixels, and we can choose whatever color we want. Let's say something like this purple here. And that's it for now. What we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of new properties to this follower, but we'll do that later. And then our last element directly inside our section is the actual custom cursor. So this cursor here will have a width and height, let's say of 0.5 rem. Then once again we want the position to be absolute top left, and then let's give it a radius of 100%. We want a circle, and also let's say a background of white. And to this cursor as well we are going to add a new property, but again we'll do that later and we will understand why we need to do that. Now we just need to follow the instructions that are highlighted here in this page, from adding the script to add all the required attributes and all the options if we want to use them, or if we just if we want to stick with default values, we can just skip this part. And so let's go. And the first thing is we need to copy the script. So now get back to our project, and we just need to go to page settings, and then here inside a head tag we can just paste it, and that's it. Now it's time to add the required attributes. So the first one is the target, which is the area where we want the custom cursor to be shown, custom cursor, and of course the follower. In this case this will be our section, so we can simply first grab the name by clicking here, the name of the cursor, and then we want to apply it to the section. So let's select the section, add a custom attribute here, let's paste the name, then let's go back to the instructions page, let's grab the value, which is target, back here, paste the value. And now after that we need to define the buttons, which will be the buttons where the hover interaction will be applied to. And in this case we want these 3 buttons. We want to apply the interaction to these 3 buttons. And so let's first grab the name of the attribute. So once again fc-cursor, let's select our first button, let's paste the name, let's do the same for the second one and the third button. Now it's time to grab the value, and the value is just button. So once again from the first button let's copy the value, second button, and the third one. And now we need to define what the cursor and the follower need to be. So let's start with the cursor, and let's grab first the name of the attribute, and the cursor is of course what we called cursor, and let's paste the name and the value, which is just cursor. And basically we will have to do the same thing with the follower. Grab the name of the attribute, select the follower this time, paste the name, copy the value, paste the value. And now let's use some of these options, and let's see, let's say that for the follower move duration, which is just, let's say, the time that it takes for the follower to catch up with the cursor when we move it inside our section. Let's say that we want a duration of 0.5. The default value is 0.7 seconds. So let's first grab the name of the attribute. This needs to be applied actually to the section. And yeah, as it says here, this attribute should be applied to the target element, so to the section in this case. So let's add another attribute. Let's paste the name and the value. We said we want 0.5. Then, as for the follower move easing, we can use the GSAP easy's documentation here to understand which values we can use. And yeah, these values are highlighted here inside this page. But yeah, let's say that we don't want to use power 2 point out. Let's say that we want to use power 3 point out. So once again, let's first copy the name of the attribute. Let's add another attribute to our target, so our section. And instead of writing power 2 point out, let's just write power 3 point out. Now, as for the hover duration, the default value is 0.3, and let's say that we want 0.3, so we don't need to add any attribute to specify this option, because we want to stick with the default value. And for the hover easing, by the way, the hover duration is just the duration of the hover animation, so the animation, let's say, or the transformation that is applied to the follower when hovering over a button. And for the easing, let's say that once again we want to use power 3 point out, so ease out cubic kind of, instead of the power 2 point out. So once again we can simply grab the name of the attribute. Let's add another attribute to the section, and instead of writing power 2 point out, let's write power 3 point or dot out. And now let's say we need to target the opacity duration, and this is just let's say the duration of the opacity transition or animation that is applied to both the cursor and the follower when we hover out or hovering the section that is, or the element that represents the target of our interaction. So the element where both the cursor, custom cursor, and the follower will be shown. And so let's say that we just want a value of, for the duration of 0.3, so the same that we are using for the hover interaction. So let's first grab the name of the attribute. Let's paste the name here, and then instead of 0.2 we just want 0.3. And the easing, once again, let's just use power 3 point out. So first copy the name of the attribute, add another attribute to the section, to the target, and then let's write power 3 point out. And that should be it. Now let's publish our project. Let's inspect it, and it's not working. And let's do a bit of debugging here. So let's first try to open the inspect panel, and basically it seems that this value here inside the code is null, basically, and this value comes from the cursor element. The cursor element should be the one that has the FC cursor attribute with the value of cursor, and probably let's say cursor, and it says that is null. So probably we used the wrong attribute. So always pay attention to the attribute, both the name and the value of the attributes that we add. So let's go back to our project, and if we select the cursor, yeah, indeed, we can see that we basically used FC cursor for both the name and the value, but the value should just be cursor and not FC cursor, of course. Let's click on the follower. On the follower, yeah, the follower should work just fine. Let's try to publish once again. Let's inspect the page. And it seems that is working almost just fine. There seems to be kind of a strange, let's say, offset going on. Yeah, kind of just as if this both the cursor and the follower are not centered. And earlier I said that we need to apply a couple of new properties to both the follower and the cursor, and these properties we need to apply these properties because we need to fix this issue. But yeah, before doing that, I really wanted to to show you what the issue would be if we don't apply those properties. And actually we just need to let's start with the cursor. We just need to apply a move transform to both the cursor and the follower along both the X and Y axis to center the position of both the cursor and the follower with respect to the actual mouse pointer. And so let's do that. So let's select the cursor, add 2D, 3D transforms, actually just a 2D in this case. We need to go, let's say, to move it back along the x-axis of 50% of its size, of its width, and 50% along the y-axis, so 50% of its height. And then we need to do the same for the follower. New transform here, minus 50% and minus 50%. And also, if we want, we can even, let's say, select the section, and here we can give it a cursor of none, so that the cursor won't be displayed inside the section on the live side, and we should be able to only see the follower and the cursor. So let's publish the website. Let's inspect the page. Okay, so it seems to be working better. Now let's try to hover over each button here. Okay, this is fine. Yeah. So yeah, everything seems to be working well. We can do just one final touch. Probably we can simply add a bit more padding to these buttons here, so that the user has there's more room for the over interaction to play. So let's publish once again. Let's inspect this dude one last time. So first button, second button, and third one. Yes, and that's it.
Thank you so much everybody for watching this video, and if you liked it, well, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any suggestions or want to share thoughts about things I might improve, well, feel absolutely free to throw a comment down below. Today's recommendation is a song from a band called Poets of the Fall, and the song is called Carnival of Rust. So, see you next time. Ciao, matane!